So this is an introduction to the Mango Languages app in our databases at New City Library, and I am Karen Ostertag, one of the reference librarians here at New City. We're going to start with a little tour of Mango's features and then go into how to create an account using your library card. We'll talk a little bit about the difference between the desktop version of the app and the mobile version of the app, because there are some differences. Then we'll go into learning how to use Mango, for which they have a couple of unique tools. We'll look at the lessons in Mango, so how to actually use it, and the review tools that they offer. And then I'm going to take questions at the end. Feel free to drop questions in the chat as you have them, because I'm full screen, so I won't be able to see anything until I leave full screen. Okay, let's get started. So, Mango is a language learning app that's geared toward beginner and intermediate learners. It features a lot of languages, including English as a second language and some endangered languages. So here, let's see if the link will work. Now, not all languages are created equal. The bigger languages, what they list as the most popular ones up at the top here, are going to be very full-featured, lots of chapters, lots of extras. They will also include specialty courses. These little blue dots that you can see here on the screen are for things like learning business language for Latin American Spanish, the Spanish for librarian, how to text in Latin American Spanish. So there are a lot of different options there. Some of the languages are going to be much more spare. They're going to give you enough to make yourself understood and get around, but they may not be as full-featured as the others. So, and the endangered and indigenous languages that they refer to, these are languages that have a fairly small number of species, small number of speakers, and that number is declining. So this is their way of promoting those languages and making them more available to the world and hopefully keeping them in it. There's also, as I said, English as a second language, which is here. So some of these are set up for classroom learning, but most of these you're able to do independently. They are a bit light on Eastern European languages and South Asian, but they still have a fairly good offering and better than I've seen on a lot of other language apps. So let's get back to Mango. So you can learn, let me see if I can move this over so you can see it. Here we go. You can learn up to 5 languages at the same time. Perhaps your brain can't take it, but Mango can. They'll let you have 5 language choices loaded into the app at once. If you choose a 6th language, one of those 5 languages will drop off of your list, and you won't be able to practice it until you delete the new language from your app, at which time the dropped language will show up again, and as far as I can tell, it will save your progress. So Mango uses a conversational model and intersperses grammar and culture notes with the breakdown of the conversation. So it will start, as in this slide on the left, with a brief conversation, usually between 2 speakers, and you'll hear the conversation at speed, and it will give you both the language that they're speaking in and an English translation of what they're saying. Then, as you go into the lesson, it will break down that conversation into sentences, into words, and repeat sections, and then have you start to recombine some of the new vocabulary that you've used to further learn the language. So here, for example, can you speak English? And then it will teach you the word for each of these, and then take each of those words and have you practice with them. So based on what you already know, how would you say? And then it gives you an opportunity, this is a timer, gives you an opportunity to answer, and then you can show the answer and hear the native speaker repeat the term again. All of the language in here is by native speakers, so you're not going to learn any bad habits. So the lessons are very approachable. You can learn at your own speed. They're very bite-sized, and there are a ton of review options. So you're going to learn by sheer repetition in this. They're going to keep giving you the words that you've already heard until you internalize them. The app auto-saves and auto-syncs between the desktop and mobile version. I wrote PC there, it's desktop. This will work on Macs also. So you can move seamlessly between the desktop version and the mobile version. So you can learn comfortably at home on your computer and then take it with you in the car and learn that way, or in the grocery checkout line and learn that way. It's very, very flexible. A couple of caveats, what Mango cannot do. So this is aimed at beginning and intermediate learners only. It is going to make you knowledgeable about a language and comfortable using that language in its home country. It is not going to make you fluent. So you are not going to come out of this with, say, a total mastery of German. The other thing that it does not teach you is how to read non-Roman scripts. As you saw with the Korean in my example earlier, it will show you the text in non-Roman scripts, but it doesn't actually teach you how to read those letters. It doesn't teach you what characters go with what sounds. So if that is your goal, unfortunately, that you're going to have to find elsewhere. What this is going to lean on more is a verbal understanding of the language. So creating an account, we're going to start at the New City Library homepage. This is what the sign-up sheet looks like. It's very sparse, just wants your email address, your library card number, your PIN, and then it wants you to create a password. Do not put your email password in here. It should not be a pre-existing password. Make one up specifically for Mango. Once you sign up, go to your email account and you're going to see an email from Mango Languages for confirming your email as the final step. Once you've done that, you are all signed up and ta-da, you have an account with Mango. So you can sign up for a library Mango account through the mobile app only, but it is much, much easier to create your account on a desktop and then log in with that account on a mobile app. It is doable, but it's more complicated. You need to go into settings and choose the library as your organization. And there's a link here that I'll put later in the description that give you the directions on how to do that. I'm also going to leave the link later in the description of how to get to the mobile apps, but these are all searchable. Search for Mango Languages. If you just search for Mango, you're going to get a lot of things, including a shopping channel. So it's available from the App Store, it's available through Google Play, and it's available on Amazon for Kindle Fire 3rd Gen and up. So as I mentioned, there are some differences between the desktop version of the app and the mobile version of the app. What you're looking at right now is one of the biggest differences. The desktop version has an extra tab that the mobile version does not. This Explore tab gives you access to Mango Movies, which is basically a collection of foreign films with subtitles on steroids. They have, we're going to see this a little bit later, but they have very full-featured subtitles that look very much like the lessons in Mango itself. It also gives you access to something called Little Tim on some languages, which is a partnership that they've done with another company to provide online learning for children from 0 to 6. And this is only available through the school versions and public library versions of this app. The other difference that you're going to see with the desktop version is what I'm wearing right now. You're going to need a headset or a microphone of some kind because there is an interactive part of Mango where they're going to need to hear your voice. The mobile version also has a number of differences. The first one is this. You are able to download all of the lessons so that you can use them completely offline. So these little check marks, each one of these, where it's a check mark, it's been downloaded. Where it's a down pointing arrow, that's an invitation to download each lesson. You can download them all at once. If you're worried about space on your phone, yes, there are options to delete lessons, but you will not lose any of your progress when you do so. The second difference is autoplay mode, which is a hands-free mode that you can use when you're running, when you're in the car. It's going to give you the entire lesson entirely verbally. It will show things on the screen so that you can see how things are spelled, but it's not going to require any kind of interaction from you. And it will stay in autoplay mode until you close with the X up at the top. And the third difference is study reminders. Mango will interact with your phone to create reminders and notifications to remind you to practice, a little nudge to help you keep learning. Now this is, I have to admit, this is one of my favorite aspects of Mango. They have practice languages. So because a lot of people are nervous starting a new language and perhaps uncomfortable with computer learning and not quite sure what they're doing, they lower the stakes. And they give you the option of learning how to talk like a pirate or Shakespearean English, both of which are close enough to modern English that you can probably figure out what they're saying without the actual help from Mango, but it will show you how the learning process works within the app. So here, for example, in Pirate, this is the beginning of lesson 1, chapter 1, Captain's Orders, and it shows you the conversation and grammar goals, in this case, the grammar goals, teaching you how to invert simple sentence structure, understanding the uses of be, using the second person pronoun ye, and using me as a possessive, as in shiver me timbers. And then the Shakespeare unit, it says it teaches you Shakespearean insults. What it's actually teaching you is the beginning of Act 1 of Romeo and Juliet. So the Montague rowdies who are out on the streets looking to pick a fight with the Capulets, there's a lot of rather bawdy insults that they exchange at the beginning that fly right over most readers' heads. This is going to teach you how to understand those and teach you how to use Mango while you're at it. So this is the heart of Mango. So this black bar at the top is where you find the different tabs for different types of learning. And in the app, it's going to be this black bar at the bottom of the screen. What we're looking at the top left here is the learning dashboard. So the first and the main tab that you're going to be spending most of your time on is Learn, because that's what we're here to do, to learn a language. So Learn is going to show you the setup for the lesson. So this is the lesson dashboard. So each one of these along the side is a chapter, and you see the other chapters listed here. And then each chapter is broken down into several lessons. And the number of lessons differs based on the language. Some of them are quite long, as you see here with German. Some of them are fairly short, maybe 8 or 9 parts to the 8 or 9 lessons to the chapter. At the end of each chapter, there's listening and reading comprehension. There's a vocabulary review with flashcards, and there's a recap, which includes quizzes based on everything that you just learned. Again, this is entirely learning at your own pace. So if you close the app, it's going to remember where you were, as long as you're signed in. It's going to remember where you were in learning this process and then simply pick up again where you were when you log back in again. It's also going to give you a little bit of review, a bit of a refresher when you pick it back up again. So this up in the corner where it says cards due for review, these are flashcards that it creates while you're learning that it will show you again to hit the high points of what it's taught you so far. This is also where you access specialty units. So if you're looking specifically to learn like business Spanish, if there's a specialty unit for that, that's where you're going to find it. Okay, the vocabulary tab. This is very important for review and for reinforcing your language learning. And this, again, is incredibly flexible. So there are lists created by the app for every chapter that include vocabulary from that entire chapter that comes preloaded. So here, for example, again, with German, chapter 1, there are 72 language cards in here. So 72 bits of language that I can pick up from this. And this is what the language cards look like. So it will give you the term in English. It will give you the term in the language. It will give you a phonetic pronunciation. And then if you click the little speaker, you will hear the native speaker pronouncing the word. Now, it will give you the option, once you've studied the list, to either hide everything so that you only see the language or so that you only see the English, and then you can test yourself on each item. It also has a flashcard option where it will be a timed test. Now, I mentioned before, this is from the desktop-only version, the Explore tab. So here, these are Mango movies, and these are 2 of the movies available for German learners. It will give you an introduction to each scene in the movie, describing it both in this case, in German and in English. It will give you key vocabulary that you may encounter in the movie. And then it will run each scene with the option of subtitles in the language, subtitles in English, or both. Like I said, subtitles on steroids. Once you're done watching a particular scene, there's an option here for review and going over more of the vocabulary and culture notes. The Tools tab is a fairly new addition to this, and there's not much on it yet. They do promise more is coming, and I have seen Mango adding more features. The vocabulary feature was also fairly new. So the Tools tab is very new. Right now, the only thing it has on it is Google Translate, which is not my favorite artificial translator, but it gets the job done. And if there's a word that you come across that you haven't learned yet in Mango, at least they give you the option to find out what it means. Okay, once you're in and you're using Mango, the first option that you have in front of you is a placement test. If you're learning a language that you have some familiarity with before, perhaps you learned it in school a long time ago, perhaps you spent a little time in the country, but it's been a while and you need a refresher, they give you an option for a placement test. They're going to give you a series of conversations in the language and then test you with questions on your comprehension of that conversation afterward. They will also give you sentences in English and an assortment of vocabulary in the language with which to build that same sentence in the language, and then they'll test you on that. Depending on how you do, you may be able to skip some lessons, or perhaps not. My German was so rusty, they put me in chapter 1. Okay, lessons. So this is what an individual lesson looks like. Unit 1, Chapter 1, Lesson 3. And there's going to be 27 cards within this lesson. It gives you 2 sets of goals. It gives you conversational goals, which is the type of vocabulary that you're going to be learning, conversations that you're going to be able to carry out after you're done with this chapter. And then grammar goals, which will teach you the nuts and bolts of how the language goes together. And this is what an individual lesson looks like. So this is the mobile version of the app. This is what it looks like. And if you tap on the word in the language, it's going to pop up the what the word sounds like. And it's going to have the native speaker repeat the word for you, but much more slowly so that you can hear it better, because sometimes they do speak somewhat fast. They also have these 3 buttons at the bottom. The orange one is a voice comparison tool. This is the interactive option that I mentioned earlier. It lets you record your own voice within the app against the native speaker saying the same word. So you can press the green button up here and you'll hear the native speaker speak the sentence. And then if you hold down the black record button, you can repeat the sentence and then line up the 2 speech patterns and hear both of them together. So you can hear how well you are repeating what the native speaker is saying. So, and it's very useful for those little fine adjustments of figuring out just how you're supposed to say something. So the second option here is the speaker. And I had some confusion originally when I started using this app between what the speaker did and what the replay did, because both of them will repeat phrases. The difference is that the little speaker pop-up will, again, give you the phonetic version of the word and then repeat the phrase with the native speaker, but it will only repeat the word that's on the screen or the phrase that's on the screen. The blue replay button will replay this entire slide. So the entire mini lesson you'll hear again, including the English-speaking narrator who's explaining what's going on in the background. They also have this little slider right above the text that lets you change between how a particular word is understood and what the literal translation of the term is. So this is Korean, annyeonghaseyo, which seems like a lot to say for the word hi. Well, it is. If you wanted the literal translation, it's are you in peace or are you well? But that is understood by native speakers as hi. And this is another thing that's unique to Mango, semantic mapping, which is basically color-coded grammar and sentence structure. A lot of languages do not have the subject-object predicate that English has, and it can be very confusing at times to understand how sentences are put together. This takes care of that for you. Every word in the language is paralleled by the matching color in English. So gehen in German is are going, are you going? So that's the verb. You, sie, that's the object. Heute is today. To the is ins, and museum is museum. So even though the structure of this sentence is not the same as it would be in English, it's very easy to parse this because of the color coding. In addition to learning the language and vocabulary, it's also going to give you grammar and culture notes as you are going through lessons. So they will perhaps drop a little piece of language on you and then give you a grammar note about other options for that particular piece of language. So saying the difference between one particular word and another that sounds very similar, showing that the polite form is similar but a little bit different, and that's what that difference in words are. They'll give you culture notes, and this is one of my favorites. For example, in Cherokee, there are no terms like good morning or good night as greetings. They use the words good morning, but it's a description of, oh, it is a good morning today, not good morning, hi. For that, they just basically use hi. And then wrapping up the lessons, you have comprehension and review. So as I mentioned before, at the end of each chapter, you have these 4 options: listening and reading comprehension, which will both give you review of what you've already learned and a little bit of taste of what's coming in the upcoming chapters. It will give you vocabulary to review, and then recap will give you quizzes. The other thing it gives you, let me see if I can move this. There we go. Oop. There we go. So the other thing it gives you every day, or every time you log back in, are, as I mentioned, these daily review cards. So as you're going through lessons, occasionally you're going to see a little light bulb up in the corner of a particular lesson card. So slides that have that light bulb are going to be added to the daily review. So it's kind of like the teacher saying, remember this, you're going to see it on the quiz tomorrow. It's going to show up in these review cards the following day when you are learning a little bit more about the language. Okay, so let's see, there we go. So these are examples of vocabulary cards. So 감사합니다 from Korean, 와도 from Cherokee, danke from German, and R from Pirate. Let me share Mango itself. Here we go. Okay, so I'm currently logged into Mango, and I am in a German lesson right now, to the bottom here. So it shows me my progress so far. I've gotten, there are 4 chapters, 60 lessons total, and that's how much of it I've done. This is how much of chapter 1 I've completed. I can take a look at what my goals are for this particular chapter. These are the same conversational and grammar goals that I showed you earlier. If I want to change my language, all I have to do is hit the little language icon up in the corner, and it will show me the languages that I've been learning recently and give me options to anything else on the list that I might want to learn. But again, if you're already up to 5 languages, if you hit another language, it's going to bump one of these off. So it also, on the main screen for the language, will show me how much time I've spent within the app learning it and how many lessons I've fully completed. And let me show you what a lesson looks like. Okay, so here we are, lesson 4. There we go. And so here I'm going to show you, here's the voice comparison. So if I click the button above, it's going to record me saying the phrase above. Gehen Sie heute ins Museum. So here's the speaker tab, and it's giving me the phonetic of how to say the above and repeating the native speaker's voice. If I hit replay, I get the narrator all over. And if I click on any word, if I mouse over, it's going to give me that phonetic pop-up. So in each case, she's saying the word more slowly so that I can hear her enunciation better. And now they're breaking it down by word. So that's a grammar note. And if you noticed, all of these words that are in blue were spoken by the native speaker rather than by the narrator. So it gives me a timer to practice saying the word myself, D, and then I can show the answer and hear the native speaker say it again, Z. So you see, we're already reviewing language that we learned earlier in this unit. Okay, so I think you get the idea of how a lesson goes in general. You may also notice at the top here, there's this green slider bar, and if I mouse over this, I can see each slide that I've gone through. So if I want to go back and take another look at the grammar note, I can simply move back along the line, click on it, and I'm going to see it again. A couple of other things I'll note here, because we're in a desktop version, there is an option for keyboard shortcuts, so you can use the arrow keys on your keyboard to go forward or back from a slide. You can use these letters to display answers, replay, pause. We also have help here, and they have very, very good support pages, and they have been very responsive from my experience. And finally, here are the course settings. You can change the volume. You can turn the narrator on or off if she's annoying you. You can turn closed captions on or off if you're having trouble understanding her. If you don't like the pressure of that little winding down quiz timer, you can turn that off. And you can also turn on interactive quiz slides, which means they will give you more quizzes during the course of your lesson. Okay, so here is information about your profile, which is where you can change your password, put in your full name. If you want to delete your Mango profile entirely, that option is here. Organizations is when you are linked to an organization that is basically paying for your Mango account. That's us. That's right here. So as I mentioned before, if you go in through the app, obviously you're not going in through New City Library's webpage, so you will need to link to us as your organization after you log in, if you haven't already created an account on your desktop. Family profiles, this would be very, very useful if you're homeschooling. You have the option to share your Mango profile with up to 5 other family members, and they don't have to be in your household. They can be anywhere across the world. Once you have created a family account, you simply share out that account information, and each person who has a family account will be able to use the full suite of Mango at their own volition. They can learn at their own speed. They can learn whatever they'd like to learn. There are parental controls if there are. I know some of the movies are rated for older teen or adults, so you can limit that within the family profile, and you can also see the progress of anyone that is part of your family profile. And then finally, activity, you will see your own recent activity, and you can even download it if you want. But this shows you how long you've spent on which languages. Okay, and then here, as I mentioned, here are the tabs. So the Learn tab is the main one that you're going to be working in. Vocabulary tab, here's the course vocabulary. So this is actually more than I've already learned within this chapter, but here, this is showing me the English, or I can have it show me the German and then test myself on each. And as you can hear, we're getting the native speaker pronouncing each word for me. I can have it show all the information at once so that I can study. I can have it hide everything so that I can practice, or I can create flashcards. And I'm going to exit because I don't want to go through all of that right now. They also give you an option. Where did it go? Oh, here it is. They also give you an option to create your own vocabulary list. So I did notice in some cases that there were words that I had learned in some chapters that did not show up in the vocabulary list afterwards. It could be because I was skipping around a little bit, but if you want to create your own vocabulary list, for example, a list specifically of greetings so that you have them all handy in one place, you can create your own list in here and study your own vocabulary. So yet another way in which Mango is incredibly flexible and will tailor itself to your learning style. So here's the learning. Here's the Mango movies in the Explore section. And I'm just going to show you very quickly. So you can simply watch the movie. That's an option. But Engage mode is the one that gives you all of the learning around it. And then it gives you the option to choose what kind of subtitles you want. You can turn them off entirely. You can just have English subtitles, just have the language subtitles, or both. And then it has the option to turn on or turn off the color coding that they use to be able to match up sentences. And then here, when you're in Engage mode, it will give you a preparation. So here, we're going to skip the tour for right now. So scene preparation will give you a brief introduction to the scene, so tell you in both the language and in English what's going on. And then it will give you a collection of vocabulary. And just like with the vocabulary flashcards, it shows you the word, it shows you the phonetic pronunciation, and then it shows you the English, and it has a native speaker pronouncing it for you. And then here, there's follow-up. They teach you each part of the dialogue, and it's going to let me, yeah. So you can turn the entire dialogue of the movie into another lesson. But in this case, you're using, it's not manufactured dialogue from Mango, it's real dialogue directly from the movie. Then you can review the scene again, and then end it. Okay, let me go back. Okay, and then tools, as I mentioned before, it's Google Translate. I'm pretty sure you've seen this before. Okay, so that's Mango. Let me unshare. How do I unshare? Oh, stop share. There we go. Okay. All right, so there are a few questions in the chat. First one is, what is a Roman script? So Roman script is what we write English in. It's the standard letter forms that we use for writing English, and it comes from the standard letter forms that they used for Latin, which is why it's called a Roman script, because it's used for Romanced languages. Let me show you a quick example. Hang on. Okay, so, come on, what happened? Okay, doesn't want to share. All right, so everything at the top of this screen, caveats, beginning, intermediate only, knowledgeable, yes, fluent, no, that is Roman script. All of these colored examples at the bottom, these are non-Roman scripts. This is Cherokee, this is Ukrainian, this is Yiddish, but to me it's indistinguishable from Hebrew, and this is Korean. None of these use the character sets that we use for writing language. And if I were trying to get around in a language and all of the street signs were written like this or like this, Mango would be no help for me because it's not going to tell me how to read those characters or how these relate to the characters that I am familiar with. So that's what Roman scripts are. Let me stop the share. Okay, another comment from chat. I seem to remember another New City Library offering that taught one foreign languages. How does Mango compare to Rosetta Stone or other programs that teach one a foreign language? The short version is each language app has its own differences. Has its own pluses and minuses. I've gone through here some of the features of Mango to explain what they do. Rosetta Stone, I believe, is a little more formal. I honestly have not used Rosetta Stone a lot, so I'm less familiar with that. But it's a little more formal in its approach. It does not have as many languages that you can learn. And I think Rosetta Stone may be better if what you're seeking is language fluency. I don't think it's going to provide you fluency with everything. For me, I would use something like Pimsleur for that. So there are more formal education courses that are more like classroom learning of a language. Pimsleur is one of those. I think Rosetta is a little more similar to that. But Mango is basically going to give you a grounding in the language and make it possible to, for example, go on vacation in a foreign country and not feel completely at sea. I also feel like they do a very good job with the flexibility and the repetition to make learning very approachable and very easy to simply put a pause and then pick it up later, and very easy to pick it up later. So that's one of the reasons that we switched to Mango from Rosetta Stone. One of the other reasons is that Rosetta Stone is incredibly expensive, and they were making it more and more difficult to offer it at an institutional level. So offering it through a library rather than individual subscriptions. Another question, is there an online opportunity to practice language learning with a person, i.e. attempt conversation with another, so the learner has the opportunity to practice language in a real situation? Not presently through Mango. However, I have seen options similar to that available through some language teachers on YouTube. Sometimes they'll hold live chats, or they'll have a Discord, which is another type of chat that offers like a conversation hour. So if that's what you're looking for, that might be an avenue to find it. The other place to look might be through the BOCES courses, because they do also offer language courses, and sometimes they will have conversation clubs set up as part of the class. Next question, does one sign up for the Mango app by going to the New City Library account? No, as I showed you step by step, you go, the easiest way to do it is through a desktop computer, go to New City Library's webpage. Well, actually, okay. Yes, you are using your New City Library account to do it, but you don't need to log into your New City account on the webpage in order to get to Mango. Okay, so you would go to New City Library's homepage. You do not need to sign in here on your account. Just go up to eLibrary, Databases and Research, and Languages. And then Mango is right here. And it's auto-logging me in. Let me see if I can log out so at least you can see. There we go. So this is what you'll see to log in. And if you don't already have a profile, so if you just want to try it out, you can use Mango as a guest, and it will prompt you, and it's going to log me in because it already knows me. Yeah, this is why I made slide. So you can use Mango as a guest. It will prompt you to log in with your library barcode number and your PIN, which is the last 4 digits of your phone number. Or if you want to create an account, go to sign up. It will ask you for your email address and then library card and PIN, and ask you to create a password for Mango. And then you will have an account like the one that I've been using here. So yes, you would use your library account to sign up with Mango with us. Mango is also available independently if you are not a member of New City Library and it is not offered through your library, although every library in Arapahoe Catskill Library System has it because this is offered as part of our consortium. So it's offered to every library within the consortium. If you are from out of town and you don't have a Arapahoe Catskill Library card, you can still get a subscription to Mango independently, although I would strongly recommend checking with your local library to see if it's available. I hope you all have a lovely afternoon and a great weekend, and